Hello, hello. Hi, friends. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Dustin. How are you two doing today?
Oh, good. Thank you.
Good, good. How's everyone's?
Doing great.
Yeah, awesome. Just gonna give a few minutes. A few more people are popping in here. All right. But in the meantime, today's topic is all about clarity. So if there's anything that you're like, I really need clarity on this today, feel free to just pop it in the comments. If there's anything in particular you're hoping to walk away with, you just let me know, just pop it in the comments. And then that way we can make sure to definitely dive into it. Hi, Chris. It's so nice to have you here. Go. I see Dustin, you've got your little dude with us.
Yep, there he is. Bowden, say hi. Can you say hi? Can you wave and say hi?
Thinking about it. Very focused on the iPad. That is okay. That is all.
Yeah,
good.
it's kind of cool. It's got these little balloons so he has to kind of like get them.
Oh, I feel like I would be very easily entertained with that as well. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're just going to give a few more minutes, see if anyone else is hopping on live. I know quite a few people are catching the replay. But in the meantime, I think, Chris, you may miss this. If you want to just pop in the comments if there's anything in particular you're hoping that today, any questions you have, anything you'd like me to clarify because that's the topic for today. Or if you're just here to like listen and chill, that's also totally fine. Hi, Julia. It's so nice to see you. How are you doing?
Good. Nice to see you too.
Yeah, so great to have you here.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm sure more people are going to kind of just like roll on in as we go, but I think let's just dive in because I've got a lot I want to talk about today. I'm so excited for today's topic because I was trying to think about like what to do for June and like what day to have it, because as always, like I start with the most grandiose plans of having patterns in my business where I'm like, oh, it's going to be like the first Monday of every month or this, like pick a different day or something. And it just doesn't happen that way, does it? Like, it's so hard to like have that exact structure. So when I was looking at June, I was like, when's open on my calendar? And I was like, oh, the 21st is open, which is solstice, which I absolutely love. So solstice, longest day of the year, the most light that we have. Like, I just feel like such a great time to have a cafe all about kind of illuminating the different areas in our course creation process where we're feeling kind of murky or kind of muddled or feeling like I just don't know exactly what's going on. So how it's going to work today is I have kind of a list of kind of common areas where I find people get stuck that I'm going to kind of go through and talk about how I approach it, kind of some different things to consider. But for those of you who are here live, you are always welcome to interrupt, raise your hand, ask questions, ask me to clarify. You can pop stuff in the comments. I'm going to be pausing kind of throughout the time to answer questions as well. So even if you have a question that's not directly related to what I'm currently speaking on, that is totally okay. These course cafes are an opportunity for you to ask me any and all of your like course creation questions. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. So you're always welcome to pop stuff in the comments, or like I said, you can use the raise hand feature on Zoom. Oh, we have another Sandy joining us. Hi, Sandy. So great to have you. So the first thing that I want us to start with, I'm sorry, I don't have my headphones broke, so you're going to hear all my little background noises. And hi, Andrea. So nice to have you. Where I want to start is kind of what we can anchor into to come back to anytime we are feeling kind of confused or unclear or anything like that along the way. And there are kind of two key questions that I like to anchor in so that anytime I'm feeling like I'm kind of getting lost in that spiral that tends to come up when we're creating anything, we can kind of return to it. And the questions are really, really simple. It's how do I want to feel and how do I want my learners to feel? Because when we're creating a program, we're usually doing it for a couple of reasons, but one is because we're probably trying to shift something within our business model, whether it's to open up more time in our schedule, whether it's to add in more revenue, whether it's to serve more people, or it's a combination of all of the above. And in particular, when we're thinking about shifting things in our business model or adding in something scalable, we really want to make sure that we're not designing a program that is not going to have us feel the way we want to feel. So if, for instance, you're the type of person who's been feeling really drained by the amount of live calls or one-to-one calls that you have on your calendar, and you're like, I want to create a course so that I can like open up more time on my calendar, then we probably don't want you to get down into that creation process, and before you know it, you have like 2 times a week live calls in your program. Like that's the exact opposite. So if we can anchor into the feeling of, do you want to feel expansive and spacious? Do you want to feel energized? Do you want to feel like calm and chill? Like, how do you want to feel both during the process of creating the course, as well as while the course or the program is running? And this can change. I always say, like, we are dynamic people and our program is going to be a living, breathing thing. So how we created at first versus where it is now versus where it's going to be in the future, that's going to shift and grow. So you're never locked into anything. But anchoring into how do you want to feel and asking yourself, what do I need to do so that I feel that way? Or what things help me feel that way can be really, really powerful, especially when we kind of get into the like ripping our hair out, like, oh my gosh, like what have I gotten myself into? That happens as part of any creative process. So for instance, for me, for this current sort of promotional period that I'm in for my group coaching program, the Incubator, I was like, I want this whole launch to feel like love. Like that was my guiding word. I was like, I want this launch to feel like love. I want to feel so in love. I think I'm being really cheesy because I'm getting married next month. So like love is on my mind. But I was like, I just want this to feel like, oh my goodness, I built this program from this place of like pure devotion to you. And I just want to share all the love. And so anytime I've made a decision around emails I'm writing or social posts I'm writing or anything like that, I can ask myself, like, what feels like love in this moment? So that's kind of the first part of the question is, how do you want to feel? Hi, Diane. So great to have you. And if you want to share in the chat about how either you're currently feeling and how you want to feel or how you want to feel during the creation process, I'd love to hear. But as always, sharing is totally optional. And then kind of the second part of that question is, how do you want your people to feel? How do you want them to feel in your program? How do you want them to feel during your launch? How do you want them to feel 1 year in your after 1 year in your program? Because this can also be really helpful too, because if we're like, I want people to be feeling like really nice and like calm and relaxed, and then all of a sudden, like every single one of your videos, you're like, blah, like super high energy, which is amazing, but you're like, okay, that's not exactly the vibe I was going for. Or if you want your people to feel really empowered and confident, but then you're not actually having them take action at all, then there's like probably going to be like a little bit of a discrepancy. So coming back to how you want to feel and how you want your people to feel can be a really good guiding point during, I just have to mute someone here. There we go. Can be a really good guiding point throughout all of the other things that we're going to be talking about today. So let's hear. So Julia says, it wants to feel fun and easy, but also clear, methodical, and juicy. Oh, I love this. So good. And then Sandy says, I want anyone who experiences me feeling secure, whether that's in the words or the knowledge, just that overall feeling of like, I've got them. Diane says, I had no idea until you said empowered and confident, maybe a little inspired. I love all of these. And I love that they're all a little bit different, which is just another reminder of like, there is not a one size fits all. It's not saying that like you have to feel this way when you're building your course and this way when you're launching your course and then this way when you're delivering it. Like this gets to be very personalized and it might shift. You might say like, in the beginning of the course, I want them to feel this way, but by the end, I want them to feel this way. But those feelings can be a really, really good guide, because then at any time you get stuck, you can go, okay, I said, for instance, Karen says, I want to feel inspired and light. What feels that way? Like what makes me feel that way? What makes my people feel that way? If you're debating, like, do I need to add in this video? Yes or no? Does it come back to those feelings? It can be a really, really good anchor point. So that's kind of what I want us to keep coming back to at any point during our questions. But now I want to get into a little bit more of the kind of like tactical things that we can get stuck on. So for those of you who have like just hopped on here, today's topic is all about clarity. I'm going to be going over some things like different types of course containers, choosing your topic, choosing your price, general ideas of how to build your program. But if there's anything that you're like, I came to this cafe today because I really need clarity on this, you're more than welcome to pop it in the comments, or you can unmute and ask me a question. You can use the raise hand feature so I know that you have questions. Like I said, this time is really for all of us. So I have some stuff I'm going to share, but really the thing I love about these cafes is, especially for those of you who are here live, we can engage, we can chat, we can kind of solve whatever's coming up for you. So while you're thinking about what questions you may have, I want to talk about course containers, because this is something that I find people often get kind of murky on, is what type of course should I create? What even are the different types of courses? What's the difference between the types of courses? And I find this gets in particularly muddled because a lot of people use language like a little bit differently. And there isn't like a one right definition. Some people go like, well, what's the difference between a group program and a mastermind? What's the difference between a course and a program? What's the difference between a workshop and a webinar? We have all of these different languages that kind of float around that can then make it really confusing when you're trying to be like, okay, well, this great bro marketer told me I need to have these 3 types of courses, but none of them kind of resonate with me, or something like that. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the main different types of containers, but really just reminding you that like, there are no rules, they're all guidelines. So really you can do whatever you want. And if you're feeling like stuck, that you're like, neither of these, like none of these feel quite right, then like raise your hand, let me know, and we can kind of talk about what the best kind of hybrid option is for you. So I like to see courses, and I'm using courses, programs, really any sort of scalable offer. I'm going to be using courses and programs interchangeably here, just to clarify. So I see scalable offers on a spectrum, and on one side of the spectrum, we have completely self-study, like there is no live elements whatsoever, all the way through to incredibly high touch in huge amounts of live elements. So live calls, even individualized coaching, something that involves a lot more FaceTime, live FaceTime. And so on the far end here, on self-study, I like to see where we start here is with tiny offers. So these go by a couple different names: tiny offers, pocket products, micro offers, toolkits. I think quite a few people have different names of these trademarked. So I see them floating around and then disappearing because they get trademarked. But really, these are these products that we see that are usually in that like $27 to like $57 range. They're self-study. So sometimes there's a Facebook community or some sort of community, but for the most part, it's just like you sign up, we've got some video trainings, we've got some workbooks, we've got some tools, that type of thing. In my opinion, the best execution of a tiny offer is a toolkit format, where it's something that is small and bite-sized, and it's to help you take action. It's to help you implement. These toolkits are great for like step 1 of a process, or like I said, to like help you do a very specific goal. That type of format doesn't tend to work well for like a deep transformation, if we're doing like deep coaching and inner work and confronting gremlins and that type of thing. This is more like, I'm trying to create something, I'm trying to do something, and I want tools to make my life easier. So for instance, like I have the course builder box, that's $37, I think. I can't remember. And it's just a toolkit that is filled with like templates and trainings and tutorials to help you build the different elements of your course. Or we see this with like sales page builders, where it's like, so you want to write your sales copy, here's a $37 offer to help you write your sales page. So that's kind of the very like self-study side of things. Oh, Julia, you're so sweet. She's like, it's amazing. So one step up from that is when we get into kind of your small to medium sized course. So this is usually when we get into the $100 to maybe like $500 or $600 range. We see it getting more into that modular program. We have a bit more videos. There may be a community. The transformation gets to be a little bit longer. This is where you kind of have a little bit more choice around how much live elements you include, but it can be a really great way of, again, kind of creating a scalable version of your framework. and leading people through kind of a step-by-step system. Kind of moving up on the 3 types of more self-study offers. We've got the tiny offer, we've got this kind of like small to medium-ish size course. Then we have the signature program. These are ones that we see that are closer, probably to like the $600 to $1,000, sometimes even as high as $2,000 range. They're a lot more robust, they have more materials, they almost always have a community with them. These again can be another great way of taking your kind of one-to-one process or your scalable framework and putting it into this kind of offer or course format. And so all of these kind of types are very curriculum heavy. This is like content, we're teaching, we're having people take action. We're going to have, this is where we see videos or audio training, workbooks, these types of things. So these are the types of curriculum driven scalable offers. Then when we start moving like further down the spectrum, which I'm realizing my camera's probably mirrored, so this looks like I'm going the wrong way, just bear with me here, towards the more live offer, kind of more coaching driven. This is where we get into group programs. So this is, I like to break these into 3 different types. Kind of there's the general group program, which often goes hand in hand with curriculum. So there's maybe like weekly live coaching, and then there's like some self-study options that kind of get paired together. So group programs come in all different shapes and sizes. They tend to be higher ticket. They tend to be limited in the amount of people that you bring into them. And they tend to be able to go deeper in the transformation because you have those one-to-one touch points with your people. A more specific type of group program that I see and that I run myself is an incubator or an accelerator. So these tend to be group programs with like a very specific outcome. So this is where we have maybe in the instance of the incubator, design, build, and launch your program. I've seen accelerators that are like, let's get your business launched, like we're going to build your website and build your brand and that type of thing. Incubators and accelerators tend to have very, very specific outcomes, and they're usually time bound. Again, they have those one-to-one elements or the smaller group elements so that you have that high touch approach with your people. And then the kind of farthest side of the spectrum that is very, very group driven, it's driven by the live calls. Sometimes there's curriculum, but it's very rare, are masterminds. And so these are small, intimate groups. They don't tend to have as much of a structure. Like it's not like we're going through a linear journey. It tends to be more like we're going to bring people together. There's going to be lots of coaching, and there's going to be this ability to get that really, really deep transformation. So just to review these kind of 6 main types of offers, moving from very curriculum heavy and very self-study all the way through to very high touch, lots of coaching and less curriculum. We've got the tiny offer. So we've got little tiny toolkits. We've got like a smaller size course. We've got our larger signature course. We have group programs, then we have incubators or accelerators, and then we have masterminds. So these are kind of the 6 main types of containers I look at when people are thinking about like, I want to create a scalable offer. What type of scalable offer works for me? So what I would love to hear is if anyone has any questions, if anyone is kind of not sure what type of container they should do, or maybe they're need some clarity around, does this container work for them or for their people, you're more than welcome to use the raise hand feature and let me know, or you can pop it in the comments. Okay, Chris, go for it. Thank you, you're muted, yeah.
Emily, thank you for hosting this course cafe. What I would need clarity on is, so I just to give you context, a bit of background context, I'm an email marketer and I specialize in setting up email automations for e-commerce brands, so for product-based businesses specifically. And I do services right now. Most of my income comes from services. And so I've added, over the past year, I've added virtual workshops where I do host them live. And I add a co-working element right after to it. And then I sell the replay as like a course, so it's like the same replay, but just like chopped up into modules. And I just add on. Now, one of the things I'm thinking about doing is doing a more, based on your definitions of the, like on the spectrum, is doing a more incubator or accelerator group program where instead of just working on one specific automation, we set up all the basic things that they need, because my signature service is a VIP day following a framework, and I would want to translate that into a scalable group program. The
Yeah.
thing with me, and I was wondering if you can give me clarity on what would be a more easier way to do this, based, like, I know myself, and I know like showing up in a community and weekly and supporting people like hand by hand is going to be very taxing on me. And that's why I like punctual things where I show up once and then deliver it, and then, you know, it's not like consistent. So I'm wondering, with a group, and then at the same time, I've tried also pre-recording trainings. Like here, I'm pre-selling this training that I'm going to pre-record and you'll get it, but I never do the pre-recorded. So I just prefer doing things live. And then, you know, if they need a tutorial, I can record that tech tutorial. Is there some type of hybrid, or would you still consider this still sort of like an incubator model type of thing that you would recommend that I follow, considering like my preference or the way my energy works out?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So great. So I think I'd love to hear a little bit more about like when you think about like showing up for the calls, what feels draining? Is it the like having something consistently on your calendar? Is it the teaching live? Is it the facilitating the group? Like, because I know there's so many different things. Like I'm the type of person that if I have too much on my calendar, I just get like itchy. I'm like, oh my goodness, I need space. But I know there's different things that can like make us feel like, oh, this is like draining my energy. So I'd love to hear if you have any ideas around that.
Well, so in the past, like early on in my business, before I even started, you know, making income from services, I thought I would start a course. Okay. So like, in the past, I followed somebody else's like model where it was like a 10-week create your course thing. And I just found that was so draining for me. It was over the summer, and every week we had to do like, it was a drip type of thing where every week you do this, and we're not going to tell you everything else that's going to happen. And so I'm just afraid that me doing that with my audience, where every week we're going to do this, is just going to feel very boot campy and like exhausting and draining the way I felt. And so that's totally what I want to avoid, because my audience are busy mom entrepreneurs. They don't have time to like, you know, and that's why I'm helping them automate their emails, because, you know, it's going to save them time. And so I'm trying to think of a way that's going to set them up in a way that's kind of like what Julia was saying, like fun and easy, not draining. You know, because email marketing is not fun for everyone, but I want to make it fun and easy, and I want to make it like enjoyable. And so, but at the same time, I don't want it to be draining on me too, right? Because if it's draining on me, they're going to feel it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So I have a couple different ideas. And the thing I always like to say is when I throw out ideas, I'm never offended if you're like, I hate all of those, Emily. So like, there's no pressure.
Sorry, I didn't catch you. I think it cut on my end.
Oh yeah. I was just saying, I'm never offended if you don't like my ideas. So
okay.
I have some ideas, and I'm just going to throw them out there. But if you're like, absolutely not, that's totally okay. So one thing that I think you could do, if you wanted a more traditional incubator style where there are those kind of weekly calls, if you created like little paths or something, almost like I'm picturing, like if you have different types of email automations that need to be set up, kind of different smaller outcomes where this would require you doing some pre-recorded stuff. So if you don't like that idea, we can come up with a different option.
That's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. But it would be almost like a little bit more autonomy over their journey, which like I love in a program. It's what I try to do in like all of my programs, is where they could come in and almost like maybe you have a quiz or you help them choose like where to start. And so then they're kind of working through the self-study, and then they can come to the coaching calls, they can come to the group calls and ask you questions, but they have almost like, instead of it being like, you have 6 weeks to get this all done, it's just like, here are your like little paths that you can follow. Like you want to set up automation style of one, like I'm just picturing, let's say that there's like 3 different ones. It's like you start on one, here's kind of your checklist of things to be working through. Here's little tiny bite-sized trainings and tutorials to lead you through it. So it just feels like less like I want you to eat this entire mountain, and it's more like I want you just to like do just like a little tiny bit.
I see. And it's like I already have pre-recorded workshops that I've done, and that would fit exactly that. Just maybe I'll have to format it differently, but like
Yeah.
You know, I've had specific workshops on just the cart abandonment, specific workshops on just like planning your email content.
Mhm.
And so it's by paths, do you mean like tracks?
Yeah.
Paths? You said
Yeah. Like tracks.
okay.
Exactly like that. So instead of being like, you're going to come in, we're all going to be doing the exact same thing. We're all going to be doing it. And you have to get this done in like a very like cramped squish time. It's more like, okay, like here, there's the cart abandonment. There's the new subscriber welcome sequence. There's the
Yeah,
follow-up.
because I'm building out those trainings actually this summer. My goal is to do these individualized, like one-off trainings over the summer. And then in the fall, launch this program.
Yeah.
So kind of like, if you didn't access the trainings, here's a bundle, like,
Mhm.
you know, and you would recommend like 6 weeks, I would give you access to me for 6 weeks, but you'd get lifetime access to these resources that I have. Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of like lifetime access or however much time you want to do, like that can be really personal preference in the sense of like, so for instance, for my incubator, it's a 4-month commitment. People get lifetime access to my full program suite. But if they want to keep coming to the calls or keep unlocking the milestones, then they can either be in it for 4 months and then they can continue month to month after. So I think I settled on 4 months because I was like, that's how much time I think if someone follows my path exactly, they can achieve the goal that I set for them. But I was like, I like to make sure that people feel like you are not behind if you don't achieve this in this time. Like it's very much like you can go at your own pace. And I wonder if that might give that more breathing room for you, like you said, where instead of it being like, I want you to set up 16 email automations in 3 days, you know, like whatever it is, where it feels like, oh, this is too boot campy. And it's more like, okay, you come in, you have a track. Each track has like a very specific roadmap. And then I feel like that will create a nice sense of momentum for your people too, because they're like, wow, like I'm 2 weeks into this program and I already finished 1 automation. Like, what else does Chris have for me? You know, like I think that could be really, really fun.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel for you?
That makes more sense because like I don't like it when it's boot campy and it's like choose your own path or choose your own adventures. What makes it more interesting for me to kind of design that. So that's interesting. Yeah, thank you for that idea.
Yeah,
I'll think about it more and see how I could like structure it in that sense.
Mm-hmm. I think what also can be really helpful for you is think about like, okay, specifically like, okay, I don't want it to feel boot campy. So again, coming back to how do I want it to feel and what would feel that way? And I always say like anything is possible as long as we're intentional. So if you're like, well, I want it to feel like this, or I want it to feel this way, or I want them to be able to do this, then, you know, we can come up with a solution for that. Like there's always a possibility. So I think really playing with like what structure would feel really good for you and feel good for your people.
Yeah. What's the opposite of boot campy? I guess it's just like spacious and easeful. Like somebody said, I think I heard easy or yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think spacious is what came through for me. So I think, and I mean, if anyone else on the call has ideas, feel free to pop them into the comments here. And then as you're kind of sitting with this, we can always circle back around. I'm going to see, I know Diane has her hand raised, so I'm going to hop on over to Diane. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much, Emily. It's really helpful to get that clarity.
Yeah, clarity. It makes so much difference. Yes. Okay. So Diane, let's hear. I saw you had a comment as well, but just dive in.
Oh, hang on, let me just grab my microphone. Hello.
Hello.
So that was really useful for me to listen to you talk that through. I think I had about 6 ideas as you were talking, as usual. So I probably more than anything need a reminder to keep things simple. So I am trying to create what I think isn't going to work for my ideal client. Because, you know, why would I be helpful? So I work with CEOs developing low maintenance teams so that their team just runs the day-to-day without interrupting them the whole time. And there's a massive knowledge gap that I find in entrepreneur land around what actually showing up as that leader requires, right? And so I think there is a curriculum that needs to happen. However, I don't think my ideal client is going to get excited by the idea of the curriculum. And I think there are many like entry points. So for somebody, a problem with team motivation might be their sticking point to start with. For somebody else, they might need to go back to the beginning and just be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no team experience. So then I'm thinking, well, we could put in all the paths and we could do all the things, and here are all the exciting things I can teach them. And I'm wondering, this wasn't my initial question, but I'm also wondering now, having listened to the last conversation, I wonder if there is such a thing as like a custom curriculum. Like we do an intake call. I listen to all the things that are going on with their team. I have some core things that they need to work through. But then, like, if let's say they've already got their vision, that maybe they don't need to dig into that. Maybe they need to focus on mission, on team reviews, or offboarding, or whatever. So I'm wondering if that's like something you've like ever done. Because what I also love about that is like my top strength is love of learning. So I will always have something new to add, which I think would be really fun, because it could just go into, hey, this is probably relevant for you. Here's this new lesson that I've added, right? But that's very one-to-one. So then I have the concern where like the group program often is really sticky because of community, but I also don't think my CEOs want to be talking about the stuff that's really happening in their teams in a group setting. But without community, like help.
Send help. SOS. Yeah, let's talk about this. Okay, so a couple different things to break down. So first, talking about the like kind of custom curriculum. You can absolutely do this. I've done this with my clients before, 100%. And this is where I almost like, you just have to be really intentional with how you design the curriculum so that it's very modular. And I don't mean like modular, like there's modules. I mean like they're like Lego bricks, where you're like, okay, they're self-contained so that I can stack them in different ways. So I did this with one of my clients who she teaches people how to run agencies. And it was like her highest tier program was kind of mastermind adjacent. It wasn't quite a mastermind because there was a lot more curriculum involved. But she was same thing to you. Like these are like next level leaders that everyone needs something slightly different, but they have some similarities, which is where that community comes from. Like maybe it's similarities in revenue or mindset blocks, or kind of like where they are, so they can still share in those conversations. But one person might be coming in and like their systems are a hot mess, and someone else is coming in and their confidence is in the gutter. So I think you very much can do that. And I'm such a visual person. I feel like you could just see like these recipes and how they stack. It's almost like, okay, this is your amuse-bouche, and like this is going to be your appetizer, and this is your main, and then this is this, that, the other. And like, here is your leadership menu of what you're going to do over your time in the program. And I think you could make this a very like high touch program that's still scalable by including those one-to-one checkpoints, like whether it's like I love the idea of an onboarding call, and then you could have like maybe like milestones that unlock. Like that's what I do in the incubator, is like once people finish certain things, like you finish your macro structure, you unlock a one-to-one coaching call, or you finish your program outline, you can submit it and I'll review it. So that's where it comes to like finding what feels like those sexy, juicy things that your people really, really want. And so sometimes when we're bringing people into the program, we need to start with what they want and show how what they want and what they need. There's a little bit of a gap. And so we're just going to bring you over here. But knowing the type of clients that you serve and the type of people you interact with, everyone is so dedicated to being the best leader they can be, that I think when you tap into that, they're going to be willing to do the work. And I think that if you are careful about who comes into the community, I think people would be willing to talk about that, because I think there is such a power in being able to have that like vulnerability with other leaders, to just be like, oh my gosh, I just ran a team meeting and I messed up so bad. Like, please tell me someone else has like done this before, or like my team. Like I think about some team issues I was having a couple years ago, and just being able to like get like on Boxer with my coach, and then we actually shared a team member, and so we were able to be like, I don't know what's going on. So I think when the community is consciously cultivated, and there are a lot of safeguards to create that sense of safety to share, I think people would show up, because like, and I think that's where you can like pull in a little bit of that Brene Brown, like, you know, we need that vulnerability, and that's part of what makes us a good leader.
Yeah, so I wonder if there's an element of like one-to-one access
Mhm.
plus the curriculum plus like a group container.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like this is the kind of thing, like you said, when something goes wrong, you want to talk about it immediately. You don't want to wait till like next Thursday to join like a group call to talk about something that's happening right now.
Mhm.
Do you think this is something that I could test one-to-one? So without having to worry about getting the group container and doing all of that, just being like, hey, I want to talk to 5 people. Everybody's going to get the same kind of modules to start with,
Mhm.
just to see where like as like a really like as a beta program, and then they can have access to me one-to-one, and I'll be like, oh, okay, everybody needs a module on this, or so and so needed a module on that.
Yeah, I think so. I think 100%, because I think what's really interesting is like, again, like if you're writing like a path for your people, and you can like be like, okay, like Emily started here and Diane started here, and you're like, oh, this is really interesting. They both did this, they both did this, but these things are different order. I think it will give you a lot of information, because you'll start to see, you're like, oh, I thought it was custom, but everyone's doing the same thing, versus like, oh no, it actually, people are in a very different order. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. And then you can kind of test it out, and then maybe once you have like those 5 people, you could even say like, I'd love for us all to hop on a call together and just get to know each other and kind of like vent and rant and stuff, and kind of trick them into a group setting and see what people do.
Yeah, even that could be like the feedback,
Mhm.
like a couple of like regular feedback sessions that turn into like, so what's really working for you, and see how that flies. Is there another word that you've seen used instead of curriculum, like adventure, experience? Like, is that just marketing, or is there another word that you can, because I want them to, for me, it's not me going, this is what a company vision is. It's like, this is how you create one. Here's the workbook. Go and do that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we're getting a whole bunch of really great ideas in the comments here. I like AJ says learning path. I think,
I wanted to not sound like a course. I
mm,
don't want it to have the word learning, curriculum, lesson, because I like that. I know exactly what you mean, but I don't want my people to feel like I'm going into a course. I want it to feel like it's action orientated, like you said, like this end of the spectrum.
yeah. So I think you could just say something like your leadership roadmap, or like your leadership action plan. I think dropping the word leadership in there, I think action path. Yeah, AJ, that's great. It's suggestion. I think just if you want it to feel actionable, throw the word action in there. And then the thing is like, well, do you need information to take action? Then that's great. We've got a library to help you. But I think just keeping the emphasis on action and implementation. And then you can also just say like, if you're stuck, there's trainings to help you. And I think that's where the bite size, like really, really short, like aggressively short, like 3-minute videos, I think would be really, really powerful.
You know, that's like the sum total of my like attention span anyway. So
I think that's how we became friends, was because I was like, no more long videos. And you're like, I don't know who this person is, but I love her.
besties.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
so
you for all the
welcome.
suggestions, everyone.
Chris, I saw your hand went up and then it went down, but do you have another question? No, you're good. Okay, perfect. So if anyone else has other things they want to chat about or that come up, you're welcome to use the raise hand feature. Or if you don't want to come on mute or don't want to come off camera, you can pop it into the comments. But I want to chat about a few other things today. Just other things that I see come up a lot when we're talking about clarity around courses. So one that comes up a ton is pricing, because I think that's something where a lot of people can get stuck. A lot of people can be like, does it need to end in a 7? Does it need to end in a 5? Does it need to fit in these like perfect categories? And the thing with pricing is it is so personal and it is so subjective to you and your audience and the marketplace that you are selling within. And so I'm not the type of person that goes like, all right, if your course has 8 modules, it should be $97. And if you have live calls, it should be this amount, because that's just like not how it works. I think one of the biggest things I just like to hammer home for everyone is that the value of your program does not come from the volume of your program. And so that is something that I just really, really want to emphasize, because I see this all the time in like Facebook groups. People go, I have 18 modules and 120 hours of videos, and I have a 3,000 page workbook. How should I price my course? And that is not how we land on the pricing of a course. It does not matter whether you have one video or 100 videos, whether you have no workbooks or the hugest workbook ever. At the end of the day, the value of your course comes from the transformation that you're able to provide for your people and the impact that's going to have on their lives. Now, obviously, you can kind of look at like competitor pricing, you can look at market pricing, you can look and say like, this is around what people are charging for this. But I like to use the example of, I think it is Tiffany & Co. that sells like a gold paperclip, and it is like literally a paperclip. It's not like a paperweight or like this is like a jewelry that's shaped like a paperclip. It's like a paperclip and it's like $2,000, but it's Tiffany & Co. So someone out there is going to buy it. So there are people at every price point, which is why the way I like to think about pricing is we want to find a place that feels good for your nervous system. So we want to find a price that feels good, that's not so low that it's like resentment creating where you're like, I cannot believe that this is like what people are paying me. Like, ugh, and then you start to create a bit of that like resentment because it doesn't match with the time and energy you're putting into the program. But it's also not so high that you're going to have like literally a nervous system breakdown every time you try to talk about your program or you try to launch or something like that. So this is where we can play a bit of pricing ping pong, where you can think about like, I like pick a number that's way too low and pick a number that's way too high and kind of check in with yourself and see how that feels. So for instance, for an upcoming live workshop series that I'm going to be hosting, I was like, okay, like, how do I want to price this? And I was like, okay, well, it's live and it's a full day of my time. It includes like food and like all of these other things. And I'm going to give them access to programs and all this. So I was like, okay, well, I know it needs to be at least the cost of the course that I'm giving them as a bonus, but I don't want it to be so high. So I went like $600 and I went like, I think my OBM told me I should be charging like $3,000. I was like, absolutely not. Like, that doesn't feel good. And I literally just went, okay, so 600 is too low, 3,000 is too high. Let's bump up to like, let's try 700 and bring it down to 2,000. And I literally just kept kind of doing this until eventually I settled on an amount that felt really, really good. I was like, okay, this is great. I'm going to do like $950 for early bird. I'm going to do $1,250 for regular. This feels good. This feels like I'm not going to be resentful. I'm going to be excited to sell it. So when you are thinking about pricing your programs, I think it's just, again, as always, there are no rules. So your numbers don't have to end in sevens. They don't have to be angel numbers. They don't have to be perfectly round numbers. There are some kind of like sales psychology things that people talk about where like, you know, we can be biased to think that things that end in 5s and 7s sound a little bit lower priced. And we can see that things that are round numbers feel a little bit more luxurious. But also trusting that your people, I think everyone on this call is marketing to adults. Therefore, your people are smart, they're confident, they're capable, they're autonomous adults. So if they see you and they see your program and they know it's the right fit for them, the exact, like whether it ends in a 7 or a 5 or a 0 isn't going to like put them off. So I think the biggest thing is to find a number that you feel confident sharing with your people, that you feel like when you talk about your program and you go, oh my goodness, I've put this program together. It's the most amazing thing ever. It's this price. How could you not sign up? It is such a no-brainer. This price is such a good deal for you. Like, I can't wait to get you inside. Then that's really the key, because I've seen clients that have been like kind of pushed to put a slightly too high price point on their course. And then they kind of have that like cringe feeling during their launch. They're like, oh my goodness, what if someone signs up and like they hate it? Or like, I don't even want to share this price point. Like, I can't do this. So really coming back to like what feels good to you, so that it just feels like such a like, yay, oh my goodness, I'm so excited for people to sign up at this price point. I'm so excited to share this price point. This feels really, really, really good. So any questions about pricing or any other questions that may have come up so far? You can raise your hand if you want, or you can pop it in the chat if anything has come up for anyone.
Can I ask you, what do you think about pricing payment plans where I see some people who do it like equal payment plans? Like for my services, I do 50-50 payment plans, but it doesn't add a markup. It's just, but it's different for courses, right? So
Yeah.
like, I see people who add like a 10% or 15% markup when you pay in multiple deposits.
Mhm.
What is your general advice for that? Does it depend on like how much it is, or?
I think it depends on if there's like an administrative burden. Like some people charge a little bit more on payment plans because if someone defaults on that payment, they have to like pay their VA to kind of hunt you down and be like, hey, like your credit card's expiring or like blah, 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 catch up on this. There's like I guess you could say there's a cost for them. For me, I don't really like doing that. Like for the incubator for that has a payment plan. It's not a payment plan. They're monthly costs. And I set that first. And then I went, if people wanted to pay in full for 4 months, then I gave them a discount. So it's not like the pay in full is the cost of the program and then the payment plans are higher. I'm like, the payment plans are the cost of the program and pay in full is a discount, just like similar. But for me, for like my one-to-one services and pretty much anything else I put a payment plan on, I usually just do it by rounding up to the nearest round number. So it's not like 93.75. It's like, okay, I'll just be like $95 because I don't like penalizing people who have to take a payment plan. Like it just doesn't really feel good for me and how I like to show up. But I think it really is a personal choice. I think it comes down to some people, like I think the main reason people charge a little bit more is because of the risk of default payments and like administrative cost onto it. Yeah, great question. Any other questions? Yeah, Julia.
Okay, I have a question in a totally different direction,
Yeah, do it.
which is for Macy's in my program, the workbooks. We like the things where we're going to have them each write. So we're doing a couples program, and there'll be things where we guide them through something, and then we want them both to write about something for a few minutes and then come back together and talk about it.
Mhm.
So they'll be in Thrivecart. So say if we were to link to a Google Doc, they would each need to be logged into Thrivecart, or they'd need to click on the link to go to the document and then make a copy of it. But we want them to each have a copy of it.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
sometimes we want it to be like, this is just for you. You don't have to share this with your partner. So we want them to have privacy.
Yeah.
Like figuring out what's the best, like the easiest way to do that with the two logging in, wanting privacy. And then is it something that we have that they come back to over and over, or is it individual documents? And then if they wanted to put them all in one folder in Google or print out each one and put them in a physical notebook, they could. So that's
Mhm.
kind of the question that I'm in. And if we do it as one big long thing, you can't really do pagination because you don't know how much they're going to write in
Yeah.
the fields, the text fields.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's where my brain is today.
Yeah, great question. Okay, so I think for you, because it is kind of like theirs and theirs workbook style of thing, I would just do one each because instead of doing like one per module, because then in the orientation to the program, you can explain that. You can say like, okay, like you may be watching this on the same computer right now, but what I want you to do is like each person create a copy of the workbook. And I can't, like, depending on the exercises, I don't know if it's the same workbook that they each have a copy of, or if you have like a partner A and a partner B workbook. You can kind of settle on that based on the exercises. But you can just literally say, like, there's going to be times where these are like solo reflection activities where you should be doing this separately. So right now, I want one of you email this to yourself, get it on your computer, get another device, print it out, something so that you have your own copies. And then that way you don't have to tell them to do that every single time they have to go into the workbook. They just do it as part of the initial setup.
Yep.
And you have a little bit more leeway with people in the beginning of a course because that's when they're the most motivated. So like you can say like, okay, like this is how you set up. Each get your workbook. If you're a handwritten type of person, print it out. Or if you have multiple devices, do this. Or if you only have one device and you don't have a printer, come up with a system of how you're going to do each person's workbook. And then because you're going to have one epic long workbook, that's where using headings in Google Docs, like heading 1, heading 2, that's going to build a really nice table of contents for you. So then in your videos, instead of being like on page 2, you can just say like in this section, which is actually better for version control anyways, because like anytime you're like on page 2 and then you redo the workbook and it's page 6 and you're like, darn it. So I think referencing this section gives you a lot more flexibility.
So click view, and so you can see it in the sidebar and go down to module 3 and lesson 4 and whatever. Okay.
Yeah. I think there's also a way, I've never done this, but I'm pretty sure there's a way where you can actually put a bookmark to a section like in the doc. So if there's something where they need to be like bouncing around the workbook, you can always like kind of like link it within it. But the easiest way would be the sidebar.
Okay. And am I right in thinking the easiest way to do this would be in Google Docs, not as a fancier thing in Canva, just because we do want them to be able to write as much as they want?
Yeah, I would do Google Docs for that because I think some people are going to write a lot. And I find like, with the PDFs, like you're kind of guessing. So either you end up with a PDF with like a ton of blank pages or they run out of space. So I like Google Docs for any sort of workbook where they're actually going to be writing lots of stuff.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm looking, Diane added something to.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. And then Sandy says, what would you suggest as your first thing? A tiny offer, mastermind, something in the middle? Such a great question. And so this is actually one of the next things I was going to talk about. So great timing, Sandy. So again, there isn't like a right answer here. There's just what's right for you. So choosing where to start comes down to a couple of different things. It comes down to what feels most accessible for you. So for some people, if you're already doing like one-to-one work, moving into a group program first feels less scary because you're like, okay, instead of working with one person, I'm going to work with 5 people. And if they need curriculum, I can just record a video here and there. And it's really like low pressure. And I can just kind of hang out and facilitate in this group. Another advantage of starting with kind of a group or a live program is they tend to be a higher price point. So especially if you're looking for like a cash injection or you're looking to like supplement your one-to-one income, the self-study courses like tiny offers or like the smaller or even signature courses, they are a numbers game. You need like a higher volume, obviously, to get the same amount of income you're used to seeing from one-to-one work. On the other hand, sometimes starting with like a tiny offer or a smaller course can be really great if you're noticing that like all of your clients or all of your people are like asking for the same thing or like the same questions are coming up again and again and again. So this can be a really great way of like making sure that you're not going to be launching to crickets is kind of doing almost like a inventory or a survey or something like that, both kind of internally, and you can even check in with your audience to see what they're asking for. So if you're noticing, for instance, like you are fully booked out and you keep getting a ton of inquiries of like working with you one-on-one, but they can't quite afford you, that's where either a group program or a signature program that replicates your framework can be a really great way of being like, okay, like I don't have capacity for more one-to-one clients, or more people are coming to me, but like they can't meet me at my one-to-one prices. Therefore, I'm going to bring in this offer that still has me live, but it's at a lower price point. Or you might notice that you're like, a lot of the people in my audience are like asking me questions about something that I like absolutely can answer. It just has nothing to do with what I've been doing in my one-to-one. So that's actually where I started with my courses. For a long time, I thought I was going to be a course creation service provider who didn't have her own courses, and especially didn't have her own courses on courses, because I was like, there's too many of these in the world. We don't need more of these. And so where I actually started was with a toolkit, which is Group Call Confidence, because I was noticing so many of my clients were coming to me and they're like, okay, great, I've got this program, but like, how do I actually run group calls? Like, how do I know that I'm facilitating them well? How do I know I'm structuring them well? How do I deal with crickets or people who are being too chatty? And I was like, okay, well, I've facilitated workshops for years and years and years. I was like, this is easy. Like I could talk about this till I was blue in the face. And I was recording looms for people. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if anyone else would like this. So I actually started with a kind of a smaller toolkit because so many people had been asking me questions about it. But I've also had clients who, like I said, they're like, I just want to start with a group program. So I have one client who's a career coach, and she was totally booked out with one-to-one. And so she's like, I think I want to start doing the same stuff that I've been doing one-to-one, but in a group. So we designed a group program with a little bit of structure, a little bit of curriculum, but not a ton. She didn't have to record a lot of stuff up front. So she could start kind of testing out her curriculum and seeing like how people grabbed onto it and if they liked it, and if she liked the group format. And she ran 2 or 3 cohorts of that group. And then just recently, we took all of the information she got from that, what worked, what didn't work, and we turned it into a self-study course now. And so we were able to kind of like build on it. So it kind of comes down to what feels good for you, what feels good for your people, and like what doesn't feel like it's going to totally freak you out. Because if something feels super scary, and if you're like, and it's different for everyone. If the idea of facilitating a group is like, ooh, like, but I could do self-study, then do self-study. But if the idea of like, okay, I have to record videos and I have to create workbooks and stuff like that feels overwhelming, then maybe starting with a group might be a better choice. So I know that wasn't like a very like exact answer for you, Sandy. So if you want to share a bit about kind of what you're thinking about, we can definitely chat through and see what a good starting place for you would be. Oh, that was perfect. Oh, thanks. Great. Does anyone have any questions kind of related to that, related to choosing kind of where to start, or like what's the best offer to start with?
I have a quick question because my audience is still quite small. And so I feel like my group program, if I want to make enough money for it to make it sustainable, I think I still need to grow my audience. And I still take on one-to-one services to make clients for my one-on-one services to make most of my income. And so do you recommend like launching our group program once we have a certain number of people on our list? Like, at what point do you think our business is ready to launch a group program is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to give my favorite answer, which is it depends. Because the tough thing with going off of list metrics is that you can have 200 people on your list and have 180 of them opening and reading and engaging your emails. You can have 3,000 people on your list and have 180 of them opening and engaging with your emails. So I think it's more about kind of your sense of like, how many people do you think are like really interested in this, and like, are they ready for it? And also like, how many people do you want to have to run this program that would feel like manageable for you? So if you wanted like 10 or 20 people, otherwise it's not worth running it, and you're like, okay, based on my list, I don't know if I could get that. But if you're like, I only need 5 people, then that might be doable. And like really the only way to know is to kind of try and launch it or do a survey to your people. So depending if you feel like ready, or if it feels like a good step for you, you could send out a survey to people or invite them onto coffee chats. Like I love talking to people one-to-one, but obviously it takes more time. So a survey is good too. And you could say like, I'm thinking of creating this program. This is what it would do. This is what the investment would be. I want to get a sense of like who would be interested in this. And then if like 30 people are like, heck yes, this is so amazing, and you only need 5, then you're like, okay, this is great. But if like 4 people are like, yeah, maybe, and knowing that all 4 of them might not sign up, then maybe it's not quite the right time. How does that feel for you?
That feels good. Yeah, I think it makes sense to pre-survey people before putting in the work to actually do it. So
Yeah. And I think it also kind of depends on like what feels good for you for like a first like launch or a first round, like knowing that it's always going to build and grow from there. Sometimes we can like wait too long if we're like, oh, I really want like 20 people. But like, if you know that, for instance, like you'll feel happy with a certain amount, like, actually like 4 people would be great. Or like my first cohort of the incubator, I had 6 people and it was amazing. Originally I was like, oh, I'd love to get 20. I had 6 and it was the perfect cohort. And it was like, everyone was so great. So it's really just starting, right? And knowing that like, you can always build and grow from there. But if you're like, 6 people is not enough for me. Like unless there's 10 not interested, then, and you're like, I don't think I could get 10 yet, then maybe waiting. But at the very least, I think starting with a survey and just seeing, and based off that survey, you might get other ideas. People might be asking for other things, or they might be like, oh, like, I really wish you'd create this instead. Or like, I've been waiting for you to offer this thing or that thing. It might give you some ideas.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thanks. Great.
I have to hop off now to my next call, but thank you so much for all the clarity today, Emily. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thanks so much for your great questions. We'll chat soon. Okay, so we still have a few minutes for anyone who doesn't have to hop off. So I think I'm going to pause there for the things I was going to talk about. I'll save the other ones for a future cafe. But we have some time. So if there's any questions that anyone has, it doesn't have to be about what we talked about today. It literally can be anything around like courses, launching, group programs, all those things. Really, I'm here to help you. So if there's any questions you have, you just let me know. It was so nice to see you, Julia. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, Emily. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Emily, I had something that I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around. I know we kind of mentioned this a little bit on Boxer, but I'm feeling really stuck on the word course for what I want my program to be. Like I said, course feels like that's what people like recognize and what the audience is going to cue in on, but I don't want this program or this offer to end up being like locked into like courses. I want it to be like learning experiences, like you're designing a program, and just like you mentioned today, it could be a toolkit, it could be a like giant year-long program, it could be a cohort, right? Whatever works for them. But I'm having trouble with like, what do I replace that with that still communicates it? And maybe I'm just overthinking it and need to stick with course and use the other stuff in my messaging. But even in the name of it, I wanted to call it the Course Lab.
Yeah. So I think that's where you can, I think based on the type of people I know that you've also worked with already, and like knowing that like more of your people are going to resonate with the word course, I think I would use the word course, and then just somewhere in your marketing and messaging, a couple different places, and emails, on the sales page, and this, that, all the different places, say something like, is this only for courses? Or like, what exactly is a course? And this is your opportunity to redefine it. And you can say like, I'm using course as the umbrella term to encompass any sort of scalable learning experience. A course that we're used to seeing is a collection of modules and videos and, these types of things. But, it really gets to like, I believe that the best course looks like this. And that's, again, the opportunity for you to kind of like share your ethos on like what a course can be. So you can say like, what is a course? Well, it's a learning experience that gets a transformation, that's scalable, that has learning in this and these things. So I think you really can define what it is and define what it means to you. Thanks for coming, Diane. It gives you that opportunity to kind of define your terms. So, for me, for instance, I usually say program and then kind of say like, these are different ways it can show up, because a lot of people who come to me are coaches. So they're used to saying programs, and they're already thinking kind of like some sort of live elements with learning, with curriculum, with content. But I know some of the people you've worked with have been kind of more like bloggers and influencers that are like, they're looking for courses that are more content driven. So I think meeting them where they are and then helping them redefine what's possible.
Okay. And then in that, when like, this is similar, but a little bit of a step like down the road, when I'm working with some of these people, like I mentioned, and kind of helping them figure out the right format for what this offer they're trying to create. And a lot of them are like, for example, I was working with a gal who wants to create a course for people whose partners have recently suffered a stroke and help them learn how to like live day to day and like what new communication stuff looks like. And she's like, I'm thinking like 3 hours of training live each week. And like, these people are like learning to take over the head of the household. And in these conversations and helping them find clarity on like, what is going to work for your clients, there's almost like this hesitancy. There's this like, oh wait, like I really have this course idea in my mind, and this is how I've seen it done everywhere. What advice do you have to helping people kind of like, or like coaching or helping clients get clarity on like what else is possible beyond the like higher ed, high school online course that like everyone is familiar with?
Yeah. So this is where I find there's different sort of like doorways into this conversation with people, and it depends on essentially what door is slightly ajar. So sometimes people come and the door that's open is the like, something about this typical way of doing things feels ick to me and I don't like it. So they're already like, I don't like something associated with this, but I don't know what it is. So that's when you can be like, here's what's possible. And you can kind of like share it. But if they're like, no, it's going to be this type of thing, this is where it comes into like rooting into what matters most to them. And so for most people, thanks so much, Sandy. It was great having you here. For most people, the thing that matters most to them is that their people get results. Because like they want to put like a crappy course out there in the world. They want people to have a really good time. They want people to make an impact, especially in the case of that they're like, I'm sure that's coming from a personal story, and that's a transformation they want to give. And so this is where you can either go one direction of kind of plugging into the like, it's more impactful this way. And this is the type of thing that you can, really help people with, is by presenting it this way. And when in doubt, like pull out the learning science and just be like, like according to learning psychology, this gets you every time I talk about cognitive load. And I'm like, after 15 minutes, they're not listening to anything. So like that's not going to be helpful. So if you can like bring a little bit of science and marry it with what matters most to them, which is like, I know you're building this course because you've gone through this experience yourself, or someone who has, and you want to have this big impact and you want to change lives. And if you want to do that, like results don't come from information. Results don't come from fire hosing people with content. Results come from taking action. Here's how I can help you help your people take action as quickly as possible. So I think it's going to require a little bit of intuition on your part to see like which angle resonates with. And ultimately trusting that like, if they're not open to any of that, then like, let them figure it out. Like I've definitely like, I've had colleagues, like they haven't been clients, that are like, yep, but I'm running this live program and I teach for an hour and a half live every single day. And this is how I do it. And I'm like, that is a nightmare. I will never watch your program. I'm not doing it. And I'm sure a lot of people won't either. But that's what feels good to them. And it's working for some people. So it's kind of finding like what doorways open, and if none of them are open, just letting them kind of figure it out and just saying, okay, in my professional opinion, no, but if that's what you really want to do, here's the implications of that. And if you're okay with that implication, then Godspeed. How does that feel? Good?
Yeah, it does. And I think that makes sense. And I almost feel like a lot of what I've come across, and similar to what we've talked about, is like you find people who are like, I'm like, so why are you wanting to make this course? Like, why? They're like, oh, well, I want like a passive income, something I can build once and be completely hands off and done with. But they like also want to have like the good results. And so I'm like, we kind of need to like come together on these two things. And they start like kind of being like, oh, like this is not what I had in mind. And so I think some of my conversations, it's almost like I felt like I've talked to them about something, and they're like, okay, well, I need to go like think about things, which is like, that's something important to me. I don't want someone to get into something that like isn't going to be realistic. So like, I think if like the results matter most to them, I can definitely work with that. But I feel like I definitely get a lot of people who are like, I just heard it's a law, like, this is the easy way to make money online.
Yeah. And I think it's true, because I think there are like so many people peddling that. Like I just saw this blogger that I've been following for a while, because she was one of my friend's clients, she's created her own courses through someone else's course method, is now offering a course on courses. And I'm like, it's only a matter of time. There's a lot of people out there who are like, I did it and I built one course and I fire hose people's information. And so you can do this and you can create easy passive income. And I think what helps is just giving people options. Like for me, like one of my core values is freedom. And that means freedom of choice and freedom of autonomy and freedom of like being able to say like, you get to do what works for you and what like feels good for you. And so like, if you want something totally hands off and like totally passive, this is kind of what that looks like when it's theoretically sound. So like if someone's like, I don't want to be involved at all, then I go, okay, I think you want a toolkit then, or you want a tiny offer, or you want, like being able to show like, if you want this, then here's your option. Which one feels good to you? Or you want this, or you want this, here's how we can compromise. Or like, okay, let's sort out your priorities. And I think reminding that like, it's pretty much never your job to make that decision for them. It's just to give them everything they need to be able to make an informed decision about the program that they want to create. And so if they're like, well, I don't want to do live calls, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that, you're like, okay, great. If you don't want to do these things, here's what we can do instead. And if you still really, really want to get people that amazing transformation, I recommend chopping your course in half and selling it as 2 courses that are self-study or something. I think it's just the more that you can give them ideas and options, eventually they'll kind of pick on something that's like, ooh, this is great. And if ultimately they're like, nope, I want the world's biggest course and I want to be totally passive, I just want to fire it out there, then they're not your people. And you can be like, I will not design that with you because it goes against my values. Yeah. Great questions. Okay, friends.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dustin. AJ and Sandy, thank you for hanging out with us longer. If you have any questions before we wrap up, just let me know. Thought I had to sneeze. So much cat hair on my face right now. My cat always sits on my lap, but he has to be like pet while I'm here, and then the hair gets all over my nose. Okay, Sandy, you're great. AJ, you're great. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Dustin. This was wonderful. The replay will be sent out probably either later today or tomorrow. As always, if you have questions, feel free to like hit reply back on the replay email, or you can reach out to me on Instagram at Modern Leaders Co. And I'll host another one of these next month. But it was so great to have you all here. I hope you all have a great solstice. Bye.